Okay, so now that we're done with the planet itself, we will be adding in some more detail to the entire scene. We'll be adding some orbital lines along with the stars because that really is going to light up the scene. So now let me just rename this layer. I'll just double click over here and call it Planet 1. And this is going to be the very first planet. It's going to be the biggest planet among all the others. So now we'll create a new layer. You can go over here and click on this little icon here, and it should create a new layer. So what we'll do now is I'll create the orbital lines. To do that, I'll go to the elliptical marquee tool here. It may work with the it will work with the rounded or the elliptical marquee tool as well, but it isn't going to be as easy as it is with this one right here. So what I'll do, I'll go to the very center, approximate center of this planet. I'll hold on Shift and Alt and do a circle. Now what that's going to do, it's going to take that as a center point and create a circle like this. Now I'm going to keep the size to something like this, and I'll just leave the selection. And what I'll do, I'll go to Edit, and I'll go to Stroke, and give a PX of maybe 4px, and I'll keep it to white. Okay, I'm going to keep it to complete white, make sure that it is in the top, and this one is on the right here, and click on OK. And all the others can be default, the color should be white, and here we can keep it to 4px, and I'll just keep it to that and click on OK. Now to deselect the selection, you can go and click on Control D, or you can go to Select, deselect, and it should pretty much do the same. So it's Control D for deselecting the entire selection that you made. So we have the first little line here. Now let me just align it because it really isn't in the center, if you can just see. So I'll just put it around somewhere where I feel it is right enough. So we have the very first circle. So what we need to do is do more duplicates of this. So I'll do maybe 3 or 4 more duplicates of this, and I'll just hold on Control T to bring the resize. To resize the image itself. I'll hold on Shift and Alt, and now again we can resize from the center itself. So let me just size it to something like this. This seems fine to me. Now for the next one, again I'm going to do Control T, Shift and Alt, and do the same thing and increment this maybe slowly, just like that, so that we are having in some effect, the orbital lines are increasing as they're going on. So we are almost good here. I'll do maybe one more copy of this to fill up the canvas here. So there, and we can just fill up maybe one more. So Control J, Control T, hold on Shift and Alt, and if you are running out of space, you can just do Alt scroll wheel and it should zoom out, and we're done with this over here. So these are pretty much the lines here. These are looking great, and now what we can do is you can hold on Shift and select all the layers, and you can click on Alt G. That's just gonna group all of them. Or we can do this, you can click on this group icon here, and you can just select everything and put them inside. So that should pretty much do the same thing as well. So let me just rename this to orbital lines, and that's going to be it. I'll just reduce the opacity of the entire group to maybe around 70%, or maybe around 50%. Okay, 70% seems fine. Okay, so you can keep it to 100% as well, but then I don't want this to pop out that much as what the planets are going to pop out. So I'll just keep the orbital lines opacity to 70%. Now the next thing we're going to add is the stars itself, which is really going to help improve the image. So we'll take the brush tool here. It's really simple to create the stars. You can pretty much go around and select a star kind of brush as well, but I'll go with something simple. I'll go with a hard brush over here, and I'll keep the size to something around 8. It really doesn't matter right now. And once we're done with selecting the brush, we're going to need a hard brush. Just increase the hardness here, and you can click on this brush panel here, and this is going to bring up this additional few settings. So I'll go to Shape Dynamics, and it's pretty much not going to matter much, but I'm going to keep the size jitter to the maximum, and the angle jitter is really not going to matter, but I'm going to go for scattering, and I'll just scatter this up a little bit. So just make sure that the shape dynamics, the size jitter is really high, because if you don't, every single circle, every single brush tab you're going to do is going to be of the same size. But if you put this all the way to 100, you're going to get variations to the entire design itself. So it's going to actually give us that kind of depth feel to it. So to do the to fill off with the stars itself, make sure it's a complete white and not something like yellow or something, and you can just lightly click over here and there and just fill off over here. So you can just increase the brush size with your arrows arrow keys, the square bracket keys in your keyboard. The left one goes and make it smaller. The right one is going to increase the brush size. So the bracket keys are going to help you increase the brush size instead of going in and over there and coming out over there. It's not really going to help. But you see, we're having this real problem here. So just make sure that the brush size isn't really big. So we can just do something like that, and it should look good. And I'll just do maybe just a few taps here and there. I don't want it to be really crazy and going everywhere. Just make sure it's to the minimal. Just don't go over and spread everything onto the canvas. It really shouldn't. I'm just gonna leave this. I really don't want to mess that part at all. And I'll just put in maybe a few more stars, just like that, and we're good to go here. This is pretty much it. You can alternatively go in and reduce the opacity of this layer as well. I'll just give it to maybe around 80%, and it should look good. But if you want to add in more depth to the image itself, in the stars image, you can go over and enable the transfer panel, and what that's going to do is actually give us a lighter version of the brush that you're going to select and a darker version. So it's going to add in some variation, but I'm going to just stick over to something like this. I'm just going to not add the opacity because I just want to keep it like this. So it's just your choice. You can again go over to the brush tool, select that, and choose the transfer property on, and you can just increase the opacity jitter, and it should give you some variation in the entire selection you're going to make. So we're done with the stars as well as the orbital lines, which really does improve the image. So if you just hide these two, we can see the image looks really dumb, but if you had it, it's giving us more of these detail. Again, at any point of time, if you want to add in more of these stars, you can always take the brush tool, select it to white, and make sure these two properties are on. If you want this, you can keep it on, and it can just again go over and start off with the selection. So yeah, I'll be seeing you in the next tutorial where we will be doing more of these planets. Yeah, I'll be seeing you there.